Captain Eris Thorne ran a hand over the rough-hewn console of the stellar bloom, the silence of deep space pressing in around them. This sector, christened the Valerius Nebula by the intrepid, if occasionally reckless human cartographers, was supposed to be uncharted, and more importantly, empty. Yet shimmering on the main viewer was anything but. "Confirming readings, Captain," Ensign Jax Tarl, the stellar bloom's sensor operator, announced, his voice a low hum in the otherwise still bridge. "Derelict probe. Non-transmitting. Energy. Signature. Unlike anything in the galactic registry. It's ancient, Captain. Millennia, at least." Eris leaned closer, his gaze fixed on the ghostly outline of the object. It was sleek, impossibly elegant, with no visible propulsion systems or identification markers. No distress signal? No automatic beacons? None, Jax confirmed. It's just sitting there. A ghost in the machine adrift. A soft chime from the adjacent science station broke the quiet. Dr. Lyra Vance, xenolinguist and the Stellar Bloom's resident historian, looked up from her glowing datapad, her usually calm features alight with a barely suppressed excitement. "Captain, the passive scans are returning something extraordinary. The probe isn't just derelict, it's a data archive. A massive one. And the encryption, it's utterly alien. Not a single known galactic cipher applies." Eris considered her words. The Stellar Bloom was a research vessel, built for discovery, not skirmishes, but an anomaly this profound? It was their very purpose. "Any signs of hostile intent, Dr. Vance?" Lyra shook her head, her gaze already drifting back to the complex algorithms cascading across her screen. "No, Captain, it's inert. But the sheer volume of data, it suggests a purpose beyond mere navigation. This isn't just a probe, it's a vault." Eris made his decision. Curiosity in humanity was often a dangerous drive, but also their greatest asset. "Prepare to approach. Maintain a safe distance, but bring us close enough for a full spectrum scan. Dr. Vance, I want every bit of information you can pry from that archive. Jax, keep a wide net. I don't want any surprises out here." Hours bled into days as Lyra battled the probe's ancient defenses. The internal chronometer of the Stellar Bloom became a blur of coffee cups and whispered breakthroughs. Finally, a breakthrough. Fragmented images, strange symbols, and echoes of an unknown language began to coalesce. "It's a cultural archive," Lyra finally declared, her voice hoarse with fatigue but vibrant with triumph. "Early analysis suggests a highly advanced civilization. The visual data, it's breathtaking. Structures that defy our understanding. Of architecture, energy manipulation that makes our current tech look like cave paintings." She paused, zooming in on a particularly complex sequence. "But there's more. A unique energy signature, non-repeating, subtle. It's embedded deep within the archive's core data like a hidden key." Eris frowned. "A key to what?" Lyra's eyes, usually focused on the past, now seemed to pierce the very fabric of space ahead of them. "I don't know, Captain, but it feels significant. Like a signature of something profound and incredibly old. Something forgotten." The Stellar Bloom, a small speck against the swirling colors of the nebula, had unknowingly stumbled upon the first whisper of a galactic enigma, a forgotten promise echoing across the void. The Stellar Bloom hummed with a renewed sense of purpose, a palpable anticipation hanging in the air. Lyra had been practically living in the lab, her xenolinguistics console a maelstrom of glyphs and cascading data. Finally, after another sleepless cycle, she emerged, her eyes bright with a discovery that sent ripples through the small crew. "Captain, Eris crew," Lyra began, her voice resonating with an almost reverent awe as she projected her findings onto the main viewer. The fragmented images from the probe had resolved into clearer, albeit still cryptic, narratives. The civilization, the creators of this archive, they called themselves the Eldrick, and they were magnificent. Holographic renderings shimmered into existence, graceful, translucent beings with eyes that seemed to hold the light of distant stars. Their cities floated on the very fabric of reality, impossible structures woven from pure energy. They were Not just technologically advanced, Lyra continued, but deeply philosophical. Their society was built on a core principle, an almost sacred obligation they called the Ethel Oath. Ethel Oath? Eris prompted, leaning forward. It translates roughly to the sacred promise or the eternal covenant, Lyra explained. From what I can piece together, it concerned their role as guardians of the galaxy's fundamental energy conduits. They believed these conduits were vital, susceptible to a cyclical, draining cosmic phenomenon. The Eldrick vowed to protect them, to mitigate the drain. She paused, her expression becoming somber. But the records, they abruptly cease. There are hints of a great cataclysm, a profound shift in galactic currents, and then silence, as if they simply vanished, taking their knowledge and their oath with them. Ensign Tarl, ever practical, interjected. So, a cautionary tale, Doctor? A ghost story about a lost civilization? Lyra turned, her gaze firm. More than that, Jax. The energy signature I detected earlier, the non-repeating one embedded in the archive, it's not just a data marker. I believe it's a signature of a specific Eldrick technology, one intrinsically linked to the Ethel Oath. And just hours ago, our long-range sensors picked up faint, erratic emissions matching that exact signature. Eris's eyes narrowed. From where? Lyra brought up a star chart. A seemingly barren gas giant, designated Solara Minoris, spun lazily on the periphery of their current sector. From here, Captain. Deep within the gas giant's turbulent atmosphere. It's incredibly faint, almost imperceptible. But it's there. The probe wasn't just a record, it was a breadcrumb. A low murmur rippled through the bridge crew. To divert course, to chase a faint signal from a lost civilization, based on fragmented data and a sacred promise, it was a significant deviation from protocol. Captain, Lyra pleaded, if the Eldrick were as advanced as the archive suggests, and if their oath was truly about preserving galactic stability, then whatever is emitting that signal could be incredibly important. It could be the last remnant of their promise, a piece of lost knowledge critical to the galaxy's future. Eris looked at the map, then at the passionate xenolinguist, and finally, at the crew, who, despite their apprehension, shared a glimmer of the same human curiosity that drove him. Set a course for Solara Minoris, he announced, his voice steady. Maximum warp. We follow the echo. The journey to Solara Minoris was uneventful for the first few cycles, a testament to the stellar bloom's advanced propulsion. But as they neared the outer orbital markers of the gas giant, the ship's proximity alarms blared, shattering the calm. Captain, unknown contact. Jax Tarl's voice was clipped, urgent. Massive energy signature closing fast. It's a Valian cruiser. Hegemony. A Vale. Standard patrol configuration. Heavily armed. Eris felt a familiar knot tighten in his gut. The hegemony of Vale was a powerful expansionist empire, known for their rigid adherence to territorial claims and their dismissive attitude towards smaller, less martial species, particularly humans, whom they often viewed as erratic and overly sentimental. On the main viewer, a hulking, angular warship, the Vorlag's Fang, materialized, its weapon ports glowing ominously. A guttural voice crackled over the comms, resonating with a deep, resonant growl. Unidentified vessel. This is Captain Vorlag of the Valian Hegemony. You have entered restricted Valian territory. State your intentions and prepare to be boarded, or withdraw immediately. Eris activated the comms. This is Captain Eris Thorne, of the human research vessel Stellar Bloom. We are on a scientific expedition, investigating anomalous energy signatures. We mean no aggression, Captain Vorlag. Scientific expedition? Vorlag's voice was laced with contempt. Your kind is known for wandering where you do not belong. This sector is Valian. There are no anomalous energy signatures that are not already catalogued and claimed by the hegemony. Turn back now, human, or face the consequences. Lyra stepped forward, her resolve hardening. Captain, allow me. She leaned into the comms. Captain Vorlag, we have uncovered evidence of an ancient civilization, the Eldrick, and their sacred Ethel Oath related to galactic energy conduits. The anomalous signature is linked to a potential Eldritch repository within Solara Minoris, a matter of galactic, not just Valian importance. Silence hung heavy for a moment, then Vorlag's booming laugh filled the bridge. Eldritch, Ethel Oath, human superstition and fairy tales. We have no record of such fictions. Your evidence is irrelevant. You trespass. Your continued presence is an act of aggression. His voice hardened. I will give you 60 seconds to turn your vessel around. Beyond that, we will enforce our claim. Tension crackled on the Stellar Bloom's bridge. They were outgunned, outmaneuvered. Lyra looked at Eris, her face pleading. Captain, we can't leave. Not now. Not when we're so close. Eris's mind raced. Direct confrontation was suicide. Retreat was abandonment of their mission, of the Eldrich's forgotten legacy. He knew Vorlag's tactics. The Veil valued dominance, but also efficiency. They wouldn't waste ordnance if a less costly solution presented itself. Jax, Eris said, his voice low and steady. Initiate a localized sensor distortion, a short-range, high-frequency burst. Not enough to disable their sensors, but enough to create a momentary, chaotic return signature. Make it look like a panicked, uncoordinated evasive maneuver. Jax's eyes widened. Captain, that's risky. They might take it as a provocation. Or, Eris countered, they'll take it as an incompetent human attempt at evasion and prioritize securing the territory over immediate destruction. It buys us precious seconds. He turned back to the comms, his voice dripping with feigned exasperation. Captain Vorlag, we protest this baseless aggression. We are initiating evasive maneuvers, but understand this is a grave mistake. As Eris cut the comms, Jax triggered the distortion. The Stellar Bloom lurched slightly, its energy signature briefly, blooming into a chaotic, messy pattern before collapsing back into a more conventional retreat trajectory. On the Vorlag's Fang's screen, the human vessel appeared to be flailing, a typical sign of an unprepared non-military target. They are attempting to flee, Captain Vorlag, a Valian officer reported, a hint of disdain in his voice. Vorlag grunted. Pathetic. Track them. Maintain pursuit vector. We will ensure they leave Valian space permanently. His voice was devoid of urgency. He was confident they had driven the humans off. But Eris knew they hadn't. While the Valian cruiser adjusted, its pursuit, the Stellar Bloom, using the brief sensory chaos as cover, executed a precise, almost imperceptible micro-jump, altering their vector by mere degrees. Not enough to trigger a full evasive alarm on the Valian ship, but just enough to put them on a trajectory that would take them, not away from Solara Minoris, but directly into its swirling, gas-shrouded embrace. They had slipped through the net. For now. The Stellar Bloom plunged into the ochre and sapphire maelstrom of Solara Minoris, the immense gravitational forces buffeting the ship. The Valian pursuit, initially relentless, had dwindled as the Stellar Bloom's signature became lost in the atmospheric interference and the chaotic energy readings from the gas giant itself. We're in, Jax confirmed, his knuckles white as he gripped his console. The Valian cruiser has pulled back, maintaining a perimeter. They won't risk their ship in this atmospheric mess. Good, Eris replied, his gaze fixed on the anomaly ahead. The Eldritch energy signature, once faint, was now blossoming, coherent and powerful. Dr. Vance, how close are we? Lyra's face was pressed against a reinforced viewport, her breath fogging the glass. Remarkably close, Captain. The signature, it's emanating from deep within the atmospheric layers. It's almost as if it's a localized pocket, shielded from the planet's immense pressures. As they descended further, punching through turbulent cloud banks that would shred a lesser vessel, a faint outline began to resolve on the long-range scanners. It was colossal, dwarfing the Stellar Bloom by orders of magnitude. Not a probe, not a station, but an entire complex. My stars, Jax breathed, seeing the primary visual feed. Before them, suspended within a shimmering energy bubble deep within Solara Minoris's upper mantle, was a structure of impossible scale and grace. It was a vast, crystalline edifice, hundreds of kilometers across, its surface rippling with the faint, unique Eldritch energy signature. It was an Eldritch nexus, a forgotten heart of their civilization. It was cloaked, almost perfectly, a testament to the Eldritch's mastery of energy and concealment. "It's a vault," Lyra whispered, her voice full of wonder. "A repository. They didn't just vanish, they hid their knowledge. This is where they kept it." But the wonder quickly gave way to alarm. Alarms blared on the science station. Lyra's expression shifted from awe to professional dread. "Captain, the Nexus, its power readings are critically unstable. The core systems are failing. There are structural integrity breaches everywhere. It's deteriorating." Holographic projections flickered on the Nexus's surface, ancient warning, symbols struggling to maintain coherence. A faint, rhythmic pulse like a dying heartbeat emanated from its depths. "An emergency beacon, barely active," Lyra continued, her fingers flying across her console. "It's broadcasting a distress signal, but it's so degraded, so ancient, no one would have recognized it. It's been dying out here, for millennia." Eris stared at the dying structure, the sheer, tragic scale of it pressing down on him. This wasn't just a discovery. It was a cosmic derelict holding the keys to untold knowledge on the verge of collapsing into oblivion. He thought of the veil just outside, dismissive of fairy tales. He thought of the Ethel Oath, a promise made and seemingly abandoned. "Prepare docking procedures," Eris ordered, his voice resonating with unshakable resolve. "Full emergency, teams. Engineering, science, security. We are attempting to stabilize the Nexus." Jax looked at him surprised. "Captain, we risk the stellar bloom. We could be trapped, or worse, disintegrate with it." Eris met his gaze, unflinching. "This isn't just about discovery anymore, Ensign. This is about preserving something immense, something vital. The Eldritch created this for a reason, an oath they swore. If we let this knowledge die, we might be losing something the galaxy desperately needs. We're going in." The stellar bloom, a tiny vessel compared to the colossal Eldritch Nexus, slowly maneuvered towards a shimmering, barely visible access portal. Humanity, the young, curious species, had just committed itself to saving an ancient, dying heart of knowledge, taking on a burden few others would even recognize. The interior of the Eldritch Nexus was a testament to impossible architecture and a chilling echo of decay. Vast chambers once bathed in ethereal light now flickered with dying energy pulses. Gravity stabilizers faltered, creating dizzying pockets of shifting pressure. Ancient, iridescent materials crumbled under the lightest touch. The air, recycled for countless millennia, held a faint metallic tang. Eris, Lyra, and a small team of engineers and security personnel moved cautiously through the labyrinthine corridors. Lyra's handheld scanner chirped constantly, guiding them towards the Nexus's core, where the distress signal was strongest. "Power fluctuations are intensifying," the lead engineer, Specialist Janara, reported, her voice strained. "The primary conduits are critically degraded. We're looking at a complete systemic collapse within hours, maybe less." "Keep pushing," Eris urged, glancing at the immense arching conduits that pulsed weakly above them, clearly the very energy conduits the Eldritch had sworn to protect. They were grand, magnificent, and utterly broken. They reached the central chamber, a titanic spherical space where countless holographic projections flickered like dying embers. These weren't just abstract symbols, they were Eldritch individuals. Their forms, though translucent, conveyed a profound sense of urgency and despair. "These are their final messages," Lyra whispered, her voice choked with emotion as she activated her translation device. The Eldritch voices, ancient and resonant, filled the chamber, layered over each other. The cycle returned, the great draining. "Our systems weaken. The Ethel Oath, it must be upheld. The cosmic currents, they are fading. The shield, it falters. The Nexus, our last hope. It dampens the pull, provides the balance. But the knowledge, the method, it is lost to the coming dark. Find the keepers, before all is undone." The galactic web, It unravels without the core. Find those who understand. Lyra's breath hitched. They were guardians, Captain. Not just of knowledge, but of galactic balance. This nexus was designed to counteract a cosmic phenomenon that siphons energy from the fundamental fabric of space, destabilizing entire systems over vast cycles. The Ethel Oath wasn't just a moral commitment. It was a vital cosmic function. Eris stared at the fading projections, a chilling realization dawning on him. And the nexus is their solution, their dampening system. If it fails, the cycle returns. Entire star systems, entire galaxies, they could be slowly bled dry. Specialist Gennara pointed to a massive segmented conduit that formed the core of the chamber, crackling erratically. That's the primary energy dampener. It's barely holding. We can reroute auxiliary power, but it's like trying to patch a dam with a thimble. We need to understand its function, its maintenance. The Eldrick built this to last, but they clearly intended for someone to know how to keep it running. Lyra's face was grim. That's the problem. The knowledge of how to maintain the dampener, to fully operate the nexus and counter the draining phenomenon, seems to be the very thing they feared would be lost. Their final messages are pleas, not instructions. They were at a precipice. They had found the lost knowledge, the forgotten oath, but the critical piece and the how was missing. Yet the Eldrick's desperate hope for those who understand resonated with a profound human challenge. They had to figure it out. They had to push beyond their own understanding of technology, piecing together the Eldrick's warnings and the Nexus's failing systems to prevent a cosmic catastrophe. Eris looked at his team, their faces drawn but determined. Humanity had a habit of finding solutions where others only saw problems. Just as Specialist Gennara managed to stabilize a critical power junction, sending a surge of temporary energy, through the failing Nexus, a jarring impact rocked the stellar bloom. Alarms blared from the main ship. Captain, the Valian cruiser. They're attempting to breach the Nexus's outer hull. Jax's voice crackled over Eris's comm unit, laced with panic. They've locked onto our micro-jump signature. They must have suspected our feint, Eris cursed. He'd hoped the Veil would simply patrol the perimeter, assuming the stellar bloom had fled. But Captain Vorlag was clearly more perceptive or more persistent than Eris had given him credit for. They're hailing us, Captain, Lyra announced, bringing up Vorlag's stern visage on a smaller projection. His face was a mask of furious determination. Human Captain, you lie, you claim scientific endeavor, yet you burrow into what we now confirm is an ancient technological vault. You are not scientific explorers, you are scavengers, plundering Eldrick artifacts for your own gain. Prepare to be boarded and stripped of your ill-gotten gains. Vorlag's voice was a guttural snarl. Aris knew this was it. The critical moment. He had to make Vorlag understand, and quickly. Captain Vorlag, you are gravely mistaken. We are not plundering, we are attempting to save this Nexus. This is not just an artifact, it is a vital galactic safeguard. Your words are meaningless, human? Vorlag roared. Your kind is unpredictable, unreliable. You have no claim here. Then look. Aris projected the Eldrick holographic warnings directly onto Vorlag's bridge. The translucent forms of the Eldrick flickered, their ancient voices echoing through the Valian comms, amplified and translated by Lyra's rapid adjustments. The cosmic currents. They are fading. The shield. It falters. Find the keepers, and before all is undone, the galactic web. It unravels without the core. Find those who understand. Vorlag's fury faltered. His rigid posture seemed to sag, just a fraction. He watched the projections, listened to the chilling pleas. His Valian officers, usually stoic, exchanged uneasy glances. The Eldrick were, even to the Veil, figures of legend, ancient power. The implications of their warnings, the sheer scale of the threat, were undeniable. Lyra stepped forward, her voice clear and urgent. Captain Vorlag, the Eldrick Nexus is a system for mitigating a cyclical cosmic phenomenon that drains galactic energy conduits. The Ethel Oath was their promise to protect the galaxy from this energy drain. This Nexus is failing. If it collapses, The effect will be catastrophic, impacting all species, including the Veil. We are not looting, we are attempting to restore it before it's too late. Vorlag remained silent, his eyes fixed on the Eldritch projections, his brow furrowed in a deep, internal struggle. His species prided itself on pragmatism, on strength, on self-preservation, but the Eldritch's warning spoke of a threat beyond any singular species, a threat that even the mighty Valian hegemony could not face alone. The images of star systems dimming, of the galactic web unraveling, it was a nightmare made real. The Valian captain's hand hovered over a console, poised to give the order to breach. Eris held his breath. Lyra watched, her heart pounding. This was the gamble. This was humanity's faith in shared truth, in the power of an ancient cosmic threat to transcend petty rivalries. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Vorlag's hand dropped. The tension on his bridge, visible even through the holographic projection, seemed to dissipate. His voice, when he spoke, was still gruff, but held a new, hesitant quality. You claim this is a galactic threat? The Eldritch risked everything to warn us, Eris replied, his voice firm, unwavering. They entrusted this knowledge to the future. We are merely trying to honor their sacrifice and their oath. We need your help, Captain. We can't do this alone. Deep, rumbling sigh escaped Vorlag. The pragmatic Valian commander, faced with undeniable evidence and a threat that dwarfed any territorial squabble, was forced to confront a truth that transcended his species' traditional worldview. For the Yoi, first time an unspoken trust, fragile but profound, began to form between them. The Vorlag's fang did not open fire. Instead, a series of smaller Valian shuttles, bristling with engineers and specialized equipment, launched from the cruiser's hangar bay and swiftly docked with the Eldritch Nexus. Captain Vorlag himself led the Valian contingent onto the ancient station, his normally unyielding features now etched with a wary respect. Human captain, Vorlag grunted, his gaze sweeping over the flickering Eldritch projections in the central chamber. This threat, it is truly as dire as your ancient spirits portray? Eris nodded. The data is clear, Captain. The cosmic phenomenon is cyclical. The Eldritch managed to mitigate it for eons. Without this nexus, the next cycle will be catastrophic. Lyra stepped forward, a data chip in her hand. We've managed to restore more of the Eldritch core data with your resources, Captain Vorlag. It details the precise energy dampening frequencies, but it requires a level of power input and system synchronization that the stellar bloom simply couldn't provide alone. Your cruiser's energy output is exactly what we need. A flicker of something akin to awe, or perhaps reluctant understanding, crossed Vorlag's face. So, this ethel oath, it is not merely a human fantasy. It is a forgotten promise, Captain, Eris countered, that now falls to us, all of us. The next few cycles were a blur of intense, collaborative effort. Human ingenuity, adaptable and quick thinking, meshed with Valian efficiency and raw power. Specialist Jinara, working shoulder to shoulder with the Valian chief engineer, a gruff but highly competent individual named Krelvar, painstakingly rerouted massive energy conduits from the Vorlag's fang directly into the Nexus's failing core. Lyra and her team, aided by Valian xenolinguists who, despite their earlier skepticism, were now fascinated by the Eldritch, deciphered the intricate maintenance protocols, unlocking the final secrets of the Eldritch's dampening system. With a final, resonating hum, the Eldritch Nexus pulsed with renewed energy. The flickering holographic projection solidified, the ancient voices singing not of despair, but of knowledge preserved. The unique energy signature, once erratic, now emanated, a steady, powerful thrum, a beacon of stability radiating outward. The dampeners are online, Jinara announced, her voice hoarse with exhaustion but triumph. Full stabilization achieved. The Nexus is fully functional. Captain Vorlag, standing beside Eris, watched the rejuvenated Nexus, a strange expression on his face. This power, this knowledge, it was hidden for so long. And your kind, you found it. We found the breadcrumbs, Eris corrected. The Eldrick left them for anyone willing to look and willing to listen. They left them for those who would understand the weight of their oath. Lyra, meanwhile, had activated the primary Eldrick beacon, long dormant. It began to transmit the full translated Eldrick warnings, along with a universal translation of the Ethel Oath and the Nexus's cosmic purpose, to every corner of the known galaxy. The message was clear. A cosmic threat was real, and a solution, born from ancient wisdom and newfound cooperation, now existed. Vorlag turned to Eris, his massive form exuding a newfound gravity. The hegemony of Vale prides itself on strength, but this is a different kind of strength. The Eldrick's purpose, your dedication to it, it is undeniable. We will acknowledge this nexus. We will help protect it. He extended a clawed hand, a gesture of respect rarely offered to outsiders. The Valian hegemony will recognize the human species as keepers of the Ethel Oath. Eris grasped Vorlag's hand, a firm, unlikely alliance forged in the heart of a dying, then reborn ancient marvel. The Stellar Bloom, its mission accomplished, prepared to leave Solara Minoris. They had ventured into the unknown, driven by curiosity, and emerged not with plunder but with a shared burden, a renewed galactic purpose. Humanity, once dismissed as erratic and naive, had proven that true strength lay not just in weapons but in the unwavering pursuit of knowledge, the courage to face cosmic threats, and the unexpected capacity to bridge divides and honor forgotten promises. The echo of Ethel now resonated throughout the galaxy, carried by the youngest of its sentient species.